Welcome back. In around 24 hours' time, the Republic of Ireland have the chance to seal their place at next summer's European Championships. They'll qualify for Euro 2020 if they get a victory in Geneva against Switzerland. On the football show after 9, we'll be crossing to Geneva to get the thoughts of Richie McCormick and Stephen Doyle ahead of our commentary game here on Off the Ball tomorrow night. Now, after the fairly lacklustre stalemate between Georgia and the Republic of Ireland, the equation is pretty simple at this stage. If Ireland win either of their last two fixtures, they will seal their passage at the finals next summer. That means they either have to win tomorrow against Switzerland or win their last group game at home to Denmark. It follows Denmark's 1-0 victory against Switzerland in Copenhagen on Saturday night. Now, earlier this evening, Mick McCarthy was giving his press conference in Switzerland ahead of the game, and he thinks a draw tomorrow night would still be a good result.
No, the upside of it is that a draw in Switzerland against Switzerland, who have qualified for how many tournaments over the last 20 years? Have they been in every one? Right. Thanks, Philip. You've been a real help to me today. Thanks, pal. We're here again talking about whether I'd be happy with a draw. I wonder if there's some thought process that I'm being negative, thinking a draw in Switzerland would be a good result.
Only because of the circumstances. There's very little practical benefit to it. I mean, a win puts us through, a draw...
The very first question I think I was asked, I said, we're going to try and win the game.
Sure.
And we'll try and win the game. And if we end up with a draw, I'll take it and I'll be happy with it.
OK, so...
And that would have been before the tournament, and that will be now.
OK, so the Swiss coach was in earlier and he said that he regards the match as a cup final. Do you see it like that?
No.
Republic of Ireland boss Mick McCarthy there speaking about the permutations out of tomorrow, saying he wants to go out to try and win the game, but he would accept a draw if it was handed to him now. And we're joined on the line by former Republic of Ireland defender Damien Delaney. Damien, good evening to you.
How are we keeping?
Mick McCarthy's take on this, is that maybe almost a metaphor for the type of approach that he's taken going into these games? The fact that before a game even starts, he thinks a draw will be an okay result tomorrow?
No, I think the position that Mick McCarthy has got the squad into with one win from the last two games is probably exactly where Mick McCarthy wanted to be and saw himself being before it started. I don't think anybody's in the country has an issue with where we're at in terms of winning one from the last two. I think people have an issue with how we're doing it and the way we're going about it. I wouldn't say we really went to win the game against Georgia. He played that as if it don't get beat, and if we win it, then fabulous. But we're going to win it with a little bit of luck, or a set piece, or a counter attack, or a refereeing decision, or something like this, But I think his main aim was not to lose it, and I think it's going to be the exact same for the next two games. Don't lose the game. Don't lose the game. And you can't really have a go at Mick McCarthy for that in my book, because Mick McCarthy's come in and done exactly what he probably told the FAI he was going to do. So I'm very much of the opinion that you can't shoot a leopard for having spots.
Well, I saw a lot of people bemoaning the performance in Tbilisi at the weekend, and it was a hard watch. But if anyone thinks back to Mick McCarthy's first spell in charge, or they've watched, say, a Mick McCarthy coach team over the last 10 years in club football in England, he is a fairly pragmatic manager. We knew what we were getting when he was appointed.
Right. So I don't understand why people are complaining. I mean, Mick isn't at fault for this. He interviewed for the job the same as anybody going for any job does. They say, if I get this job, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to do it. So he's done that. Giovanni Trapattoni did that. Martin O'Neill did that. Somebody or something in the FAI likes that. They want to do that. So I think if you're going to ask questions about how we're going about this, then Mick isn't at fault for this. It's the FAI, because they're choosing this path. Like I said to you, you can't shoot a leopard for having spots. If you hire Mick McCarthy, and let me put it this way, if Mick's had that interview and he told the FAI he was going to play broad, expansive football with 2 number 10s and all intricate little passing moves, and then he served up what we've had, then I think we could have a problem. But for me, I don't see it. Mick is doing exactly what he said he was going to do, and he's in exactly the position he wanted to be in prior to the last two games.
What did you make of the performance in Georgia? For a lot of us, as I mentioned, it was a pretty hard watch. Ireland gave away the ball an awful lot during the game as well. What was your take on that performance in Tbilisi?
Listen, it was exactly what you said it was just there, but that's how it's been for the last, 10 years. When I was playing there in 2008 under Trapattoni, it was the same thing. It was just play to our qualities, which is the team spirit, the work rate, the effort. We've seen things over and again. So the FAI have chosen to go down a path, and they like this because it's probably the safest option for them to qualify for major tournaments. They won't take risks. The risk, or what you could deem risk, is coming with Stephen Kenny in a year's time. Stephen Kenny might change it, it might be different, but at the moment, it is what it is, and we should just get on with it.
I can't help but think that maybe some supporters were even a little bit more frustrated about Saturday if they'd watched the game in Tallaght on Thursday, because the Republic of Ireland went up against an Italian under-21 team and went out to try and dictate the flow of the game. They passed the ball, they were very patient, they played a Stephen Kenny style of football. That's probably added to the frustration slightly here, because people know that Stephen Kenny will be in that job come what may in just over a year's time. Right,
well, there's a couple of ways of looking at that. Stephen Kenny has all these young players that are not long out of academies in the UK. Some of them I know are still playing elsewhere, but all these players now are of the tactical knowledge, and they're used to that type of coaching that they're going to get from Stephen Kenny. And it's a little bit different doing it Tallaght on a Friday night as opposed to Tbilisi on a Saturday afternoon in a game that you can't lose. So I'd be a bit slow to beat Mick with that stick, if I'm being honest with you. The proof will be when Stephen Kenny gets the job. Can he get that team playing at a much, much higher level against much, much better opposition? It remains to be seen. But right now, let's just get behind the team, and hopefully Mick can get us to the Euros.
Looking ahead then to the game against Switzerland, obviously a few decisions to be made. James Collins played a lot of the game on Saturday, and Mick McCarthy said afterwards that he was slow to sub him off because he was important in set pieces either side of the game, even though he maybe didn't get into it in open play a whole lot. Given that we know Dave McGoldrick is now ruled out of the game with that hamstring injury he has at the moment, do we expect that Collins starts again up front, Damien?
I think he will. Because it's the safe option. He's probably the only recognised number 9 that we have. I know there's talk of maybe playing Aaron Connolly up there, but maybe play Aaron Connolly off the left and Callum Robinson off the right and James Collins up the middle. I think that's a much prettier looking front three, and it's much more kind of in line to win the game. But whether or not Mick does that or not, I don't know. He'll probably play James clean wide left and James Collins up front, and I don't know. I mean, he'll probably just go with the safe option because you can read between the lines of the press conference, he doesn't want to lose the game.
Yeah, we'll hear from Mick about Connolly in a moment, but just to ask you about James McClean, because he gave away the ball 11 times in the first half and 25 times overall at the weekend. Probably one of his most frustrating nights in green. Supporters sometimes frustrated watching him from the left as well. Is it now an issue, the left side for Ireland, because they have been creating very little down that side, and the fact that Matt Doherty was cutting inside in his right foot a lot as well didn't help. We got nothing down that left side on Saturday night.
Yeah, I agree with you totally. I mean, James McClean's had a tough couple of years. When you look at, James McClean doesn't need anyone to tell him he had a bad game. I'm pretty sure that he felt really, really bad after that game, and he knows he's better than what he showed against Georgia. But if you look, he's had a tough couple of years. He's been at West Brom for a period of time and was in and out the side there. He wasn't a regular. He's got to Stoke and he's playing predominantly left back now, and he's at the bottom of the Championship. So mentally, it's been a tough couple of years for him. His confidence probably isn't what it was or what it should be, but he'd be the first one to tell you that. But the one thing with James, you'll get is effort. And in a game like Switzerland, my gut tells me that James will probably play left side again, because Mick is going to go for solidity. He's going to go for known quantities. He's not going to throw a young boy in there. As much as I want him to play Aaron Connolly, I don't see it, but it's a possibility. One
thing about James McClean as well, Ireland, they've only scored 6 goals in the 6 games in this qualifying campaign. A lot of them have come from either set pieces or crosses. From open play, our best chance of scoring seems to be from crosses. It was a deflected cross against Switzerland last month, but it was a James McClean rampage down the left that led directly to the goal where we equalised against the Swiss. Yeah, look, and Mick, as I said earlier at the start, Mick has put himself in a position now where he needs to win one big game from 2 against very, very good opposition. And he's kind of hedging his bets that this Ireland team, as they've shown over the past, is capable of one-off performances. So they've kind of slogged and grinded their way to this point, but they're in with a shout.
and he's just hoping that the gods smile on him and he gets a little bit of luck or a massive performance and they win one game and that's it, we're in, and he's done his job.
Well, here's what Mick McCarthy had to say about Aaron Connolly a bit earlier in Geneva and the potential of the Brighton forward getting a start tomorrow night.
He had a cameo and did well in it, and I think he'd be feeling comfortable about himself. So, no, I don't think it would be a risk at all to start him. I wouldn't want him to be isolated up there, that's for sure. They play three at the back, and I think putting Aaron into that, if I decided to do it, putting him up on his own would be a big ask, I think, on his starting full start.
Damien, he made an impression from the bench. He had Ireland's best chance. Maybe the bobble didn't help him on the pitch in Tbilisi at the weekend as well. But he did look very bright when he came off the bench.
He did. He looked very bright, looked bundle of energy, he looked full of confidence. He looked like a player that's been, what's the best way to put this, kind of untouched from the dreary kind of toughness of professional football. You know, after a while, you've ups and downs and stuff, but he looked really, really fresh and he looked really, really enthusiastic. Judging by what Mick said there, I heard that earlier, that, you know, he's not considering playing him from the left. You know, he's considering him playing him as a 9. And I'm not sure that he is a 9. But look, if it was a straight shot between James Collins and Aaron Connolly, I'd play Aaron Connolly. I just would, just for his sheer exuberance. You know, he has got that little bit about him where he's just full of confidence at the minute. And he might not be as good as James Collins at certain things. If, like Mick's talking about there, if they get isolated, you know, maybe he can hold the ball up, he can run down lost causes a little bit better. But I just play him because he's a player that is clearly full of beans, and he might. I think you get more out of him than you would James Collins. That's my opinion. And
I guess the argument would be as well, particularly given what he did against Spurs the weekend before last as well, that you're basically picking a player who's in form and has been among the goals, which Ireland are very short of across the squad.
Yes, but look, I mean, he plays in a team in Brighton that plays a certain way, and he has a certain job to fulfil there. And he definitely suits the way Brighton play, hence the reason that he's been given a start by the Brighton manager. But I'm not sure he's going to be a mixed type of player in these types of games, you know, where he's going to track back, fill holes, you know, when Ireland have got 11 men behind the ball and stuff. So I can't see Mick playing him, but I would love to see him play.
What's your take been on the midfield? Because I think Jeff Hendrick, by his own admission, because he's been moved around in so many positions, maybe hasn't quite hit the form that he had around Euro 2016. Conor Horan was trying to kind of support the play on Saturday, but didn't really happen. What's your take been in terms of how the midfield has been playing, Damien?
I think the midfield have been. I think they've been poor, as Jeff said there. You know, they've not got a foothold in any game. They've not really controlled the opposition midfield. I think in the games that I've seen, I think they've been run over the top. People have run right over the top of them, if I'm being honest. They have physically and technically and tactically as well. So it's a difficult one there. I mean, you know, you're asking an awful lot of Glenn Whelan there. You know, Glenn's 36 years of age, or 35 I think he is now. So it's difficult for him, but then you look at the squad and you think who could play instead of him in that number 6 role. I think he does give you the best for what Mick is looking for. He is the best option. But I'm sure Jeff and Conor have got one big performance in them. I hope they do anyway, that they really will put it together and get one result from the two.
Glenn Whelan has kind of been rotated in and out during this campaign as well, understandably, given the age and given how many miles are on the clock for him as well. But it looks very likely he's going to play twice in 4 days now. Okay,
listen, Glenn is nailed on. If he's fit and he's available, you know, for the type of games that are coming up, games that you don't want to go behind in, games that you just want to stay in, keep it at 0-0, and get late in the game, and like I said earlier, get a refereeing decision, a corner, a breakaway or something. So Wheelo's nailed on, and I think with his experience, hopefully he has one more big game in him as well.
Everyone was very concerned a couple of weeks ago when it looked like Shane Duffy and Richard Keogh were both going to miss this set of games. Now, Duffy got himself fit and got back in. He slotted in with John Egan at the weekend. They didn't have a whole lot of kind of backs to the wall defending to do against Georgia, but I thought, just for a defensive point of view on this, they actually, I thought, had a very, very solid game at the weekend and didn't look particularly troubled.
Yeah, and listen, I remember talking to you guys a couple of weeks ago when the news broke about Richard Keogh and Shane Duffy potentially being injured, and I said that I wouldn't be worried in the least if it was John Egan and even, I don't know who the other option was there. I can't remember who it was, and it was off the top of my head, but because the way Mickey sets the teams up, the centre backs are well insulated, you know, they're very, very well protected, fullbacks don't really rampage too much, and definitely the two of them don't tend to go. And having someone like Glenn Whelan sitting in front of you and being a body, and it's exactly what I said 2 weeks ago. And I think that centre back is one position in a Mick McCarthy team I would never have any worries about, because, like I said, they just have to do the basics.
We assume that Enda Stevens is going to come back from suspension and come in at left back. That's now a couple of times where Matt Doherty's played, and I guess it's difficult switching back to left back. It's been a while since he played there for Wolves, but again, he didn't really have much of an impact on Saturday, did he?
No, he's not really, but he's never going to have an impact. When you look at the role that he's asked to play for Wolves, and the team shape that they play in, he fits into that very, very well. You look at someone like Nuno Espirito, or whatever is the Wolves manager's name. His style versus Mick McCarthy's style. Matt definitely suits that a lot better. So you're not really going to get a whole lot of attacking sense out of him just because he's a good attacking player for Wolves. He fits in a better system at Wolves. I think that Enda Stevens will probably come straight back in.
Enda didn't have a great game against Switzerland, but he has played well through the rest of the campaign, and he's been a good foil for the attack as well. He actually can push forward and get some good balls into the box. That's the hope, that he returns and gets back to that form again. Yeah,
definitely. He's one player that I've watched a lot back in the last year and this season, definitely. And technically, he's very, very good. He's proficient. He can handle the ball. He's not afraid to take the ball in tight spots. So I think his natural left side comes in there. But I think also on the ball, he's very, very, very good. So I could see him coming back. And he's been a good player for Ireland, though, in the last few weeks. There's been a big clamour for Jack Byrne to get into the team as well. Just for a player, again, who's in good form with Shamrock Rovers. I know he's playing at a level that's a little bit lower than the others. But is there an argument to be made that he gets parachuted in for this week? Listen, people are looking for complete change. Jack Byrne play, Aaron Connolly from the left. Enda Stevens playing with Matt Doherty at wing back, and it's never going to happen. Not under this current management. Jack Byrne, for me, a fantastic player, very, very good, but he's never going to start a game for Mick McCarthy. Never. He's not his type of player. Definitely not in a massive, massive, massive game like it's coming on Tuesday night. Mick's going to go solid. If we're chasing a game at 1-0 down with 10 minutes to go, it's all or nothing, then I can see Jack Byrne getting on the pitch because, it's a free shot. You might as well lose 2-0 as to lose 1-0. So that's the only way I can see Jack Byrne getting on the pitch. But in terms of starting the game for Ireland, not my lifetime. Well, look, Mick has been talking. Mick has been talking about the draw, and draws against Switzerland have been a pretty common result. 3 of the last 4 meetings between Switzerland and the Republic of Ireland have ended up in draws. Generally, they've been kind of difficult to score goals in as well. I presume that's exactly what we're expecting tomorrow. Probably a night of big tension in Geneva. In all likelihood, one moment of quality, whether it's from a set piece or from a cross, is likely going to be crucial here. Yeah, and we've got 2 shots at it. If we don't get it against Switzerland, we can get it at Denmark. So Mick isn't. I know you said there earlier the Swiss manager said it's a cup final. Mick's essentially got 2 cup finals. He can lose the first one and still have a free shot at the last one, and then you might see a little bit more adventure if we're kind of losing with 5-10 minutes to go or whatever. But he's got 2 shots. He's exactly where he wants to be. It's played out exactly how he wanted. And a draw tomorrow night isn't the end of the world because it will give you confidence going into the Denmark game. It doesn't help us in terms of points or getting in. We still need to win 1 game. But in terms of we got a draw tomorrow night, it puts the lads in a good frame of mind going into the Denmark game. What did you make of the Swiss when they came to Dublin just a few weeks ago for that 1-1 draw, a game where Ireland played quite well in the second half, I thought? What was your take on what Switzerland offer? Switzerland are a good side, don't get me wrong. I remember again, one of your shows, people were saying how great Switzerland are. Switzerland are a good team. They're not a world-class team. They're not, on the same level as a France or a Germany or a Spain. They're a good side. I think we should be competing an awful lot more closely with them in terms of technically, tactically and possession-wise. But, Mick sets his teams up the way he does, and he's going to go about it the way he wants. The argument would be this European Championship is probably the easiest ever to qualify for, given the Nations League playoffs that come on the back of everything as well. If you were to say at the outset that Ireland have to beat Denmark or have to beat Switzerland to get to the finals, that's only fair enough as a qualification path, isn't it? There you go. And I said to you, nobody would complain about that ever. People seem to have an issue with how we've done it. that we've not gone and took the bull by the horns against Georgia last week and gone, do you know what, let's just go and get it done today, and then we might only need a draw in the last couple of games. We didn't, we've got all the way down, and he's just praying for this one big cup final kind of performance that you might get out of a team. That's what Mick's playing for. Fairly
irrelevant how they do it, but can Ireland get 3 points tomorrow, Damien?
I think they can. They're more than capable of it, but I wouldn't be saying that I'm assured they will. I mean, this team is capable of big performances, and they've got 2 goals of it now, and hopefully Mick can just get one of those special nights, Wales away or Germany at home, one of those types of nights. And I think that's what he's looking for, that's what he's hoping for, and that's what he's bet for.
Well, look, our football coverage here on Off the Ball with thanks to Paddy Power for responsible gambling. Check out dunlewy.net. We're live from Geneva tomorrow night with Stephen Doyle on full commentary for Switzerland against the Republic of Ireland in that Euro 2020 qualifier.